Hey, what's up? This is Odulena from Odulena Digital. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about 21 lessons for the 21st century by Yuval Noah Harari. Welcome to the channel and be sure to subscribe. For those of you who are new here, my name is Odulena. I do a video every week on Sunday on topics like favorite books, courses, education. I work for Google and everything that I share here is my own personal opinion. We do a lot on books and book reviews. I even have a book cushion today. This is like my new thing for the channel. Anyway, I'm starting with a very popular demand book, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. Previously, I reviewed two books by the same writer called Sapiens and Homo Deus, so you can watch the reviews here. And I really recommend you, when you are reading this writer, to read all three of them. I think a good sequences will be starting with Sapiens, going to Homo Deus, and then 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. He has these three books. Actually, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century kind of summarizes everything that you would have learned from the previous two books and puts it into the context of 21st century. So the book itself is about 21 chapters and different aspects of our life and how this has changed. And I think we all feel that the world has tremendously changed, even for those of us who are young still, compared to the time when we were growing up, when we were children, and now everything has changed. Ideologies, visions, meaning, everything is becoming something really new. With the rise of technology, rise of new ideologies, world is changing and we're trying to find the meaning, we're trying to understand what's going on. There's like all kind of things that we try to experience, philosophies, religions, and trying to find who we are and what is going on right now. And the books of Yuval Noah Harari are exploring exactly this subject. I think this is why they're so successful. He really tries to understand what is the human, what is the species, the sapiens species, what is going on with it and what is going to happen with it in the far future, in, let's say, thousands of years, how this is going to play out. So this is Homo Deus. And now for the 21st century, what is going to happen in, let's say, the close plan, let's say the next 100 years, the next 80 years, because we are already second decade of this 21st century and still nothing makes sense. So why does it not make sense? I'm going to go through the main ideas. I'm not going to go into each of the lectures and each of the lessons of the 21st century. Some of them are very short, some of them are very long, but the main idea is that there is this sense of disillusionment. So if we talk about 20th century, we would understand a lot about why do we feel the way we feel now in 21st century. So if you look at 20th century, there were three main ideologies, two of which failed miserably, and by the end of the 20th century and the early 21st century, we had one ideology left. So Nazis failed, communism failed in the 80s. Then what was left, the right answer, is liberal democracy. So the natural answer to every question in the world, let's say if you see a nail, your hammer would be more liberties. And the thing is that this not always works. And right now, actually, we are facing countries like China, like Turkey, like Russia, which are by far not liberal democracies, and they are prospering. And also we see that countries that are liberal democracies, including the United States, are struggling in many ways. So what is the right answer? What happened? Where is the moral here? As sapiens species, we always try to explain the world with stories. So everything that we believe in and the way we function is because we believe in common stories, and this is what helps us collaborate. This is very, very well explained in the first book, in Sapiens. Now in 21st century, we feel that we don't have a story. The book was written in 2018, and this is even more valid now in 2020. We really feel that there is no story, there is no meaning, there is no ideology, there is no religion even. And we don't know what to believe. That's why a lot of people who are enablers of the previous last ideology, which was liberal democracy, about globalism, they are now in shock because it feels like the world has gone to an end. What is going on? If this was not the happy end that the humanity was waiting for, then what it will be? Then always is the fear of like some kind of scary, tyrannical, totalitarian state that's going to rule everything. And this might be the case, or it might be some kind of hybrid. We don't know. And he doesn't really mention that in so much detail. He takes a very interesting aspect here, which I really like, and he swings more not about how a state is going to be organized, but about how the whole world is going to function, and specifically putting into context the development of technology like biotechnology, technology like neuroscience, algorithms, artificial intelligence, and how this is going to actually play out and change everything that we believe in and everything that is going to happen in 21st century. So during the whole 20th century, there was this anxiety that machines are going to take our jobs. And this didn't happen until now, because for every job that the machine took, there were so many people jobs that were created. And this is also another aspect of the 20th century. People had the power. People had, let's say, everyone was believed to have a self, an individual choice and will. So every human being has something called will and is able to exercise it. And this is all what liberty is about, that you are able to exercise this will that you have. Now, with the rise of neuroscience and kind of understanding and digging into the human brain, scientists realize more and more that this will is something like a myth, because we have this fluid will which is depending on our emotions and how we feel, what is feeded in our minds, what is the latest post that we read on Facebook, what is the latest book that we read, who did we talk to lately, do we feel a bit cold or warm, the weather, all these kind of things and small tweaks are actually influencing who we are, what we want right now, and maybe even how we're gonna vote. So is it basically, do we have a will? Do we have a self? Or we are just a combination of all these hackable bioalgorithms, which anyone with artificial intelligence model can well predict how we're gonna vote, what we're gonna buy, where we're gonna spend our time, what we're gonna watch. And you see this more and more and often, that now we are moving away from the customer is always right or the voter is always right to the big data is always right. And then what is going to happen? So now all the heavy left jobs are outsourced basically to machines. Machines are starting to penetrate the cognitive jobs, which were, let's say, by default humans' territory, that we were the smart ones, the machines were just using the manual labor. And now we see that machines in many senses are able to process this complex world that we live in much better, because we are capable of doing conclusions with a little data very well, but with big data our brains are not designed to cope with that. Only machine can cope with big data. And there we go to another choice. What if there will be a future where, let's say, a government of humans is waiting on an artificial intelligence algorithm to approve their budget proposal for the country based on big data? Or what if, let's say, your health insurance depends on whether you are performing what is required from the algorithm, which has calculated that because of your unique biochemistry, you will have to eat certain foods and you have to do certain things. Actually, I recently read that there is a patented invention by Microsoft. It got a patent this year for a cryptocurrency based on the human body. So there is a chip which is injected in the human body, and it is able to mine cryptocurrency based on certain behaviors that the human performs, which is super creepy, but it is really possible. As we can see, the technology is already there, it is existing, and we feel threatened. So as political power, as economical power of human is decreasing and the power of machine is increasing, then does that mean that human beings are going to be less and less important? And this is a huge question. I think this is kind of the biggest lesson of 21st century is what is going to happen with all these humans now, since they are losing their powers. 20th century was a lot about the humans because we believe that the human has a unique self that is not, it is manipulatable, but let's say it has a free will. Whereas now we see this will can be easily twisted, turned, and it's not always free. Like what is free mean? Like does that mean like the background, the family? There's all kind of things that shape our will, and it's very difficult to say what is free and what isn't. So what is going to happen with us? Whereas in 20th century there was a lot because people were soldiers, people were warriors, people were voters, were consumers. That's why there was so much good that was created for people, like housing, healthcare, education. Well, if people don't have now all these powers, or let's say like a lot of the decisions outsources to big technology, then what is going to happen with us? Which brings into another creepy scenario about an elite, an international elite of people who are biologically enhanced. Let's say they have become smarter because they have some kind of chips in their heads, or they have some access to the latest healthcare and technology, which is able to prolong their life, to cure all diseases and human conditions and allow them to, let's say, live 1,000 years. What's going to happen with the rest of the people who cannot afford these hacks? So it's going to be like a biological division of a superior human race, which is biohacked, and an inferior majority, which is not. And what is going to happen with this majority? So he doesn't say exactly what, but there are a lot of different crazy scenarios that you can read about this and all kind of conspiracies. So I'm not going to go into that sense. So there is this question about technology, there is the disillusionment with ideology, and now there is the escapism in nationalism, religious fundamentalism, what we see, let's say, with terrorist groups like with the Islamic State, what we see also in Western Europe and in the United States with kind of these nationalist parties that like protect ourselves against the others, xenophobic parties going on the rise. So what does that mean? He talks a lot about that nations by itself, of course, are stories, just as well as religions. And they, let's say, they were built for the past, for societies of hunter-gatherers. Yes, we might be looking for answers, let's say, in old religious scripts or in some kind of national identity that we have, but after all, we have evolved. Let's say we are on the next level, and even though, let's say, we might be believing Christian or Muslims, we still go to the doctor. We don't ask the priest to take the demons out of us unless we live in some kind of small village or something. We go, let's say, if you're a farmer, you don't go to the priest to pray for you for rain. You watch the meteorology forecast. So the real new religion is science. And what's interesting is that science is universally accepted. So it's kind of like the one rule them all religion, that even like the biggest fundamentalists and the biggest, let's say, resistance to anything else believe in science. They're still gonna go to doctor, they're still gonna be operated, they're still gonna watch the weather forecast. So we are living into this complex world with the rise of technology. We're trying to find answers in old stories that don't match the current reality, and we are at a place where we don't know the story, we don't know where our place is in the world, and this is leading to a lot of confusion. So with this kind of grim ending and no really moral of the story, the book ends, and the only solution which Yuval Noah Harari actually talks about a little bit is meditation. He himself is a big practitioner of meditation. He's talking about the great mental benefits that he feels from meditation. I also meditate, and I find it really more than a calming exercise. It is something to do with understanding what you are, kind of observing your brain, observing your thoughts, observing all these kind of things that we call free will, and dividing yourself from the story about who you are, about where you are, what is the country, what is the place, let's say all the stories that we have, and trying to see about like what is the universal thing inside you. I think this gets also a bit strange to explain. I think only someone who practices meditation is able to relate to this, but he kind of gives this to us as, let's say, the unexplored territory. Yeah, we know about science, we know about algorithms, we know about medicine, but what about our own selves, like trying to understand what we are with self-observation? Overall, really mind-blowing, kind of like type of book. Super exciting, super interesting. Really recommend you to read it for yourself. Probably you will see a lot of things that I haven't seen. Please comment below if you've read the book already and you have some thoughts about it. I'll be happy to have a discussion. Subscribe to this channel. I'll be back with a new video next week. Until then, see you soon.